Farhi thought she wouldn't understand his foreign language, biggest mistake ever. The rain hammered against the floor, to ceiling windows of La Maison d'Or, one of Manhattan's most exclusive restaurants. Inside, crystal chandeliers cast a golden glow over white tablecloths and gleaming silverware. The quiet murmur of conversation, mixed with the gentle clink of wine glasses and soft piano notes, drifting from somewhere in the back. Marcus Wellington Athuri adjusted his Patek Philippe watch and surveyed the dining room with satisfaction. At 42, he had inherited his father's real estate empire and tripled it within a decade. This was his world. A world where money talked and everyone else listened. Tonight was important. He needed to close a deal with David, a potential investor from Singapore who controlled the capital Marcus wanted for his next Manhattan development project. Across from him sat his business associates. James, his nervous attorney who laughed too loud at Marcus's jokes. Richard, his investment banker, constantly checking market updates. And David, who sat quietly observing everything with calculating eyes. Marcus was confident. He always closed the deal. Their server approached. She was young, probably mid-20s, with dark hair pulled back in a neat bun. Her uniform was impeccable, black and white, perfectly pressed. Her name tag read, Elena. Marcus barely glanced at it. He rarely remembered the names of servers, they were interchangeable, temporary. Beneath his notice, Elena arrived at their table with a polite smile. Good evening, gentlemen. Welcome to La Maison d'Or. My name is Elena and I'll be taking care of you this evening. Can I start you off with something to drink? Marcus barely acknowledged her, already scanning the wine list. We'll have the Chateau Margaux 2015. 4 glasses. Elena nodded. Excellent choice, sir. I'll have the sommelier bring that right out. Marcus waved her away dismissively. Just the wine for now. As Elena departed, Marcus turned to David. So, as I was saying, the property on Fifth Avenue is undervalued by at least 40 million. My analyst's project, we could flip it within 18 months for triple the investment. David nodded slowly. It sounds promising, Marcus. But the zoning laws in that district are complicated. Have you secured the necessary permits? Marcus leaned back, confidence radiating from every pore. David, I've been doing this for 20 years. Zoning laws, permits, city council approvals, I know how to navigate all of it. More importantly, I know who to pay to make problems disappear. That's the real skill in this business. He said it casually, as if discussing the weather. David's expression remained unreadable. The sommelier arrived with their wine. Marcus tasted it, nodded curtly. It's acceptable, pour. The sommelier filled their glasses and departed. Marcus raised his glass. To profitable partnerships and outsmarting the competition. Elena returned to take their food order. I'll have the Wagyu beef rare. No vegetables. Extra truffle shavings. And bring another bottle of this wine. The others ordered quickly. Elena wrote everything down efficiently. Very good, gentlemen. Your appetizers will be out shortly. She collected the menus and left. As she walked away, Marcus leaned toward David and switched to French. You see how she just obeys without question. That's the kind of control I have over my properties too. Everyone knows their place. Everyone understands the hierarchy. Keep the workers compliant. Keep them grateful for their jobs, and they'll never question your authority. David responded in Mandarin. I find that approach can be short-sighted. Happy workers are productive workers. Marcus switched to Mandarin without missing a beat. Fear breeds respect. When people fear losing their position, they work harder. They don't complain, they stay in line. James, who spoke only English, looked confused, saying. Marcus switched back to English. Just discussing management philosophy. Nothing you'd understand. James laughed uncertainly. Marcus enjoyed keeping people off balance. Their appetizers arrived. Oysters, foie gras, caviar. Elena set each plate down with practiced precision. Is there anything else I can get for you? Marcus ignored her completely, continuing his conversation. Elena stood there for a moment, then quietly left. Marcus speared an oyster and continued in French. The key to maximizing profit is minimizing labor costs. I don't pay more than minimum wage to anyone below management level. If they don't like it, there are 10 more desperate people waiting to take their spot. David frowned. That seems harsh. What about employee loyalty? Marcus laughed. Loyalty, David. These people are waiters, construction workers, cleaning staff. They're not building careers, they're filling time. Why would I waste money buying loyalty from people who are going to leave anyway? He gestured vaguely toward Alina. She's probably working her way through community college or trying to save up for acting class accalacy. These service workers tell themselves. In 5 years she'll be doing something else and she won't even remember working here. David looked uncomfortable. You seem very certain about her life. Have you asked her? Marcus scoffed. I don't need to ask, I've seen hundreds of waiters and waitresses over the years. They're all the same. Temporary, interchangeable, forgettable. Their main courses arrived. Elena carried Marcus's Wagyu beef carefully. Your Wagyu, sir, cooked rare as requested. She distributed the other plates with equal care. Can I get you gentlemen anything else? Marcus cut into his steak without acknowledging her. Richard complained that his fish was slightly overcooked. Elena listened patiently, apologized and offered have the kitchen remake it. Richard waved her off. It's fine. Just bring me another glass of wine. As Elena walked away, Marcus leaned in and switched to German. I bet she doesn't understand a word we're saying. These American service workers, they only speak English. Maybe a little high school Spanish, but French, Mandarin, Italian, German, no chance. We could plan a murder right here at this table and she'd just smile and ask if we want dessert. Richard grinned. Should we test it? Say something completely outrageous and see if she reacts. Marcus considered this. Actually, let's have some fun with this. The next time she comes over, let's really lay it on thick. See if she even blinks. They ate in silence for a few minutes. Marcus finished his steak and looked around the restaurant. Everyone here was like him. Wealthy, powerful, connected. The staff were just background music. Necessary but ultimately unimportant. Elena returned to clear their plates. How was everything, gentlemen? Marcus finally looked directly at her. It was adequate. Bring us the dessert menu. And another bottle of wine, something Italian. Elena nodded. Of course, sir. I'll bring the dessert menus right away. As she gathered the plates, Marcus switched back to French, speaking loudly enough for anyone nearby to hear if they understood. You know what I find fascinating about people like her? They work in places like this, surrounded by wealth, and they never understand that they'll never be part of it. They see the cause, the watches, the cars. They serve us food that costs more than they make in a week. And they smile and think that's their purpose in life. It's almost sad. David shifted uncomfortably. Marcus, I'm not sure this is appropriate, she's just doing her job. Marcus waved him off. Relax, David, she doesn't understand a word. Watch. He switched to Mandarin. Hey Elena, when you go home tonight, do you cry about your meaningless job? Do you wonder why you're so mediocre? Elena looked up at Marcus. Her expression remained professionally neutral. I'll be right back with those dessert menus, sir. She walked away without any indication that she'd understood. Marcus grinned triumphantly. See, completely clueless, we could say anything. Elena came back with the dessert menus. Our pastry chef has prepared some special items this evening. The chocolate soufflé is particularly recommended. Takes about 20 minutes to prepare, but it's extraordinary. Marcus didn't open his menu. We'll all have the soufflé. And bring us cognac, the most expensive you have. 4 glasses. Elena wrote it down. Very good, sir. The soufflés will be about 20 minutes. As Elena departed, Marcus switched to Russian. You know what would be funny? If we started commenting on her appearance. Really objectifying her. Just to see if there's any reaction at all. Richard grinned. I'm game. But what if she actually understands Russian? Marcus shook his head. No chance. Russian. An American waitress. Please. Elena stood nearby, waiting to see if they needed anything else. Marcus looked directly at her and spoke in Russian. Tell me, Elena. When you look in the mirror, do you realize how ordinary you are? You're not ugly, not pretty, just completely average in every way. You're the human equivalent of beige. You have no remarkable features. You were born to be invisible, to serve people like us, and then to disappear without anyone remembering you existed. David looked mortified. Marcus, stop, this is too far. But Marcus was enjoying himself. He switched to Japanese. Do you know what my maids make? $12 an hour. That's probably what you make too. Do you know what I make in an hour? More than you'll make in your entire lifetime. That's the difference between people like me and people like you. Elena maintained her composure perfectly. If you don't need anything else at the moment, I'll check on your sophades. She walked away calmly. Marcus laughed. See, nothing, no reaction. She's so far beneath us intellectually that she doesn't even register that she's being insulted. David had had enough. In English he spoke firmly. Marcus, I think we should discuss the actual business proposal. That's why I'm here. Not to participate in whatever this is. Marcus, annoyed, switched back to English. Fine, but let me make one thing clear, David. In my world, everything is business. How I treat my staff, how I negotiate contracts, how I view people who are beneath me, it's all the same philosophy. Winners and losers. Leaders and followers. If you're going to partner with me, you need to understand that I don't apologize for success. David met his gaze steadily. I understand success, Marcus. I've built my own fortune. But I did it without being cruel to people who have less than me. Success and decency aren't mutually exclusive. Marcus smirked. Spoken like someone who's still worried about what people think. When you're at my level, you stop caring. Some people are worth more than others. That's not cruel. That's reality. Before David could respond, Alina returned with 4 perfect chocolate soufflés. They were works of art, risen high above their rankins. Dusted with powdered sugar. She set them down with practiced care. Your soufflés, gentlemen. Please be careful, they're extremely hot. Marcus ignored her and switched to Arabic. Look at her, so proud to have delivered dessert. This is the peak of her achievements. Successfully carrying chocolate from one room to another. I bet her parents are so disappointed. They probably thought she'd be something. A doctor, a lawyer, a teacher. Instead she's wearing a uniform and calling men half her age sir. What a waste of a life. He laughed and switched to English. That'll be all, Alina. You can go away now. Alina nodded. Please enjoy your desserts. Flag me down if you need anything. She walked away with the same professional demeanor. Marcus cracked into his soufflé with a spoon. It was perfectly cooked, molten chocolate flowing from the center. At least the chef is competent. Even if the waitstaff is forgettable. David ate in silence, clearly reconsidering the partnership. The tension at the table had shifted. What had started as a business dinner was becoming something darker. Marcus noticed David's withdrawal. What's wrong, David? Your dessert not to your liking. David looked up. The dessert is fine, I'm just reconsidering some things. Marcus's eyes narrowed. What things? David set down his spoon. Whether this partnership is right for me. Your behavior tonight has been revealing. Marcus laughed. My behavior, I've been the perfect host, expensive wine. Excellent food, stimulating conversation. David spoke carefully. I want a partner who treats people with basic dignity. What you've been doing tonight. Insulting your server in multiple languages thinking she can't understand. It shows a character flaw I'm not comfortable investing alongside. Marcus's face hardened. Character doesn't build empires. Ruthlessness does. Intelligence does. Understanding the hierarchy of power does. The piano music continued. Other diners were blissfully unaware of the conflict brewing. Elena moved between tables, efficient and professional. If the conversation at Marcus's table had affected her, she showed no sign. That frustrated Marcus more than he wanted to admit. He switched tactics. When Elena walked by, he called out in English. Elena, come here for a moment. She approached. Yes sir, how can I help you? Marcus leaned back, studying her. How long have you worked here? Elena maintained her professional smile. About 3 years sir. Is there something wrong with the service? Marcus waved his hand. No, I'm just curious. 3 years is a long time to be a waitress. Don't you have any ambitions beyond this, any plans for your future? Elena's smile didn't falter but her eyes cooled slightly. I'm quite happy with my work here sir. La Maison d'Or is an excellent establishment. Now if you'll excuse me, I have other tables to attend to. She turned to leave. Marcus called after her, switching to French. Of course you're happy here. People with limited options often settle for mediocrity and call it satisfaction. Elena paused, turned back, then she replied in perfect Parisian accented French that was even better than Marcus's. Monsieur, mediocrity is in the eye of the beholder. Some might say that a man who measures his worth solely by his bank account and treats service workers with contempt, is himself quite mediocre in the ways that actually matter. The table went silent. Marcus's jaw dropped. Richard's eyes widened. James looked confused, a smile. Elena continued in French, her voice calm and measured. You've spent the last hour insulting me in 5 different languages. French, Mandarin, Italian, German, and Russian. You commented on my appearance, my intelligence, my ambitions, and my worth as a human being. You did this because you assumed I was too ignorant, too American, too working class to understand you. She switched to Mandarin, flawless and smooth. Your assumption was incorrect. I speak 8 languages fluently. French, Mandarin, Spanish, Italian, German, Russian, Arabic, and Japanese. I also understand Portuguese and Korean at a conversational level. I have a master's degree in linguistics from Columbia University and a bachelor's in international relations from Georgetown. Both full scholarships. I graduated at the top of my class from both institutions. The blood drained from Marcus's face. Elena switched to Italian. I work at La Maison d'Or because I'm conducting ethnographic research for my PhD dissertation. My thesis explores how wealthy individuals perform power in social spaces through the treatment of service workers. You've provided me with absolutely fascinating data this evening. Your behavior has been a perfect case study in entitlement, classism, and the psychology of dominance. She switched to German. Everything you said tonight, all your little jokes, your cruelty, your assumptions about my life, I understood all of it, and I wrote down the highlights during my breaks. Direct quotes, in your words, across multiple languages. My professor is going to be thrilled. Richard looked like he wanted to disappear. James was frantically trying to figure out what was happening. David was openly smiling. Marcus sat frozen, his face cycling through shock, embarrassment and rage. Elena continued in Russian. You said I was ordinary, average, invisible, born to serve people like you. You said I would disappear without anyone remembering I existed. She switched to Japanese. You compared your hourly earnings to mine, and suggested that money was the measure of a human's worth. You said your money makes money while you sleep, and that's what separates people like you from people like me. Back to Arabic now. You wondered if my parents were disappointed in me. You called my work a waste of a life. You said I should feel proud about successfully carrying chocolate from one room to another. Elena's voice remained level, professional, but there was steel underneath. I heard every word, Marcus. Every single word. She switched back to English. My parents, by the way, are incredibly proud of me. My mother is a federal judge, my father is a surgeon. They're proud that I'm pursuing my PhD. They're proud that I treat people with respect regardless of their income or social status. Because unlike you, I was raised to believe that character matters more than net worth. Marcus finally found his voice, but it came out strangled. This is. Elena held up a hand. Let me finish. You've talked for over an hour. Now it's my turn. She pulled out a small notepad from her apron. I have exact quotes here. Would you like me to read some of them back to you? In the original languages. Perhaps your business associates would enjoy hearing what you really think of people you consider beneath you. David was grinning openly now. I think we should hear the quotes, actually. I'm very curious what else Marcus said that I might have missed. Marcus started to stand. This is ridiculous. I'm not going to sit here and be lectured by a waitress. Elena's voice cut through his bluster like a knife. Sit down, Marcus. Something in her tone made him sit. Elena continued. You're going to sit and listen, because if you don't, I'm going to walk over to every table in this restaurant and tell them exactly what you've been saying. I'm going to share your views on service workers, on women, on people you consider socially inferior. I'm going to do it loudly and clearly so every wealthy person room understands what kind of man you are. Marcus's face was red now. You can't do that. That's defamation. Elena smiled coldly. Is it defamation if it's true, if it's your own words, said in public, in a restaurant full of witnesses? Marcus looked at his attorney. James, tell her she can't do this. James looked panicked. I mean, technically, if she quotes you accurately, it's not defamation. Truth is an absolute defense. Elena wasn't done. Let's talk about your management philosophy. You said fear breeds respect. You said scared workers are productive workers. You said you pay minimum wage and don't care about turnover, because there's always someone desperate enough to take the job. Does that accurately summarize your position? Marcus said nothing. Elena continued. You also said in Mandarin that you know which palms to grace. That making problems disappear is about knowing who to pay. That's interesting because David here is considering your vesting in your Fifth Avenue project. I wonder if he knows you plan to bribe city officials for permits. David's smile disappeared. He looked at Marcus with new eyes. Marcus, is that true? Are you planning to bribe officials? Marcus sputtered. She's twisting my words. I was speaking casually. Elena shook her head. No, you weren't. You said, and I quote in Mandarin, I know who to pay to make problems disappear. That's the real skill in this business. That's not hypothetical. That's a confession. Richard looked pale. Marcus, if you're involved in bribery, that could splash back on all of us. I want no part of that. Marcus stood up, his chair scraping loudly. This is insane, you're all believing a waitress over me. Richard stood too. I'm believing a woman who just demonstrated she speaks 8 languages, and has 2 Ivy League degrees over a man who just admitted to planning felonies. I'm not risking my reputation for anyone. David also stood. I'm out too. I don't invest with criminals or with men. You've treated people the way you've treated Elena tonight. James gathered his things. Marcus, I think I should go too. If you're going to be charged with bribery, I can't represent you. Conflict of interest. He left quickly. Other diners were starting to notice the commotion. The manager began making his way toward the table. Elena remained perfectly composed. Gentlemen, shall I bring you the check? David pulled out his wallet. Here's my card. Bill my portion separately. I'll leave a generous tip for Elena. She's earned it. Richard did the same. Me too. 50% tip. Marcus was left standing alone as his business associates walked away. The manager arrived. Is everything alright here? Elena turned to the manager. Mr. Chen. Everything is fine. Table 12 is finishing up. Could you prepare their check? Split 3 ways. The manager looked between Marcus and Elena, sensing tension. Of course, Elena. Right away. As the manager left, Elena turned back to Marcus. You're alone now. Your lawyer left. Your business associates left. Your potential investor left. Your illegal plans are exposed. All because you spent an hour being cruel to someone you thought was beneath you. Was it worth it? Marcus. Marcus's anger boiled over. You think you're so smart. But you're still just a waving people. I'm still rich. I'm still powerful. Tomorrow I'll still live in my penthouse. What do you have? Elena's expression didn't change. I have my education. I have my family's respect. I have meaningful work. And after tonight I have incredible research data. You've given me exactly what I needed, Marcus. She continued. But what do you have? You have money, yes. But you just lost a major business deal. You exposed yourself as planning crimes. You burned bridges with your attorney and partners. Everyone in this restaurant heard part of this conversation. They're all watching you. Judging you. Tomorrow you'll wake up rich but alone. I'll wake up with exciting new material for my research. Who really won tonight? Marcus had no response. The manager returned with the checks. Marcus threw his credit card down. The manager picked it up nervously and left. The silence stretched. Marcus could feel eyes on him, judging. Seeing him diminished. Seeing him put in his place by a waitress. The manager returned with his card. Marcus signed without leaving a tip, stood up, straightened his jacket, looked at Elena one last time. You haven't heard the last of this. Elena tilted her head. Is that a threat? Because we're in a room full of witnesses. Be very careful what you say next. Marcus clenched his jaw and walked away without another word. Elena watched him go. Then turned to the manager. Mr. Chen, I apologize if that caused any disruption. He shook his head. Elena, I heard enough to understand what happened. That man was abusive. You handled it perfectly. Take your break. Elena smiled. Thank you. I'll clean up the table first in the break room. Elena pulled out her phone and texted her dissertation advisor. Professor, you won't believe what just happened. I have the most incredible case study. Subject exhibited every behavioral pattern we discussed. Multiple languages used to create power distance. Explicit classism. Assumed invisibility of service worker. This is dissertation gold, the response came quickly. Record everything while it's fresh. I want full field notes tomorrow. This is excellent work, Elena. Elena smiled to herself. 3 years of waiting tables while conducting research have led to this perfect moment. Marcus Wellington Ether had no idea he'd just become the star of an academic paper that would be published and discussed for years. Weeks later, the story had spread through New York society. Marcus's reputation was in ruins. David and Richard had pulled out of all projects. James had formally resigned. His publicist had dropped him. Even his mother wasn't speaking to him. Elena, meanwhile, completed her dissertation with flying colors. The Marcus case study, anonymized but recognizable, became famous in academic circles. It was taught in sociology classes, business ethics classes, linguistics classes. Subject M became a cautionary tale about assumptions and the danger of underestimating people you consider beneath you. A year after the incident, Elena was Dr. Elena Martinez, professor at a prestigious university. Her book on class dynamics and power structures was being used in universities across the country. She'd turned Marcus's cruelty into meaningful contribution to human knowledge. Marcus sat alone in his penthouse. His empire was smaller. His influence had evaporated. No one wanted to work with the guy who got destroyed by a waitress. He thought about that night constantly. What if he'd just been polite? What if he'd treated Elena with basic respect? His life would be completely different. He'd called Elena ordinary, average, forgettable. Said she would disappear without anyone remembering she existed. Now she was Dr. Margian's professor, published scholar, respected academic. Her name was in journals, on university websites, in conference programs. She was remembered, respected, valued, and him, Marcus Wellington III, was now just a cautionary tale. Another rich guy who thought money made him better than everyone else. Another person who learned too late that cruelty has consequences. The lesson was clear, though Marcus had learned it too late. Cruelty has costs. Assumptions have consequences. Treating people as less than human will eventually reveal your own inhumanity. Marcus had had every material advantage and thrown it all away because he'd lacked basic human decency. Elena had taught him that lesson perfectly. She'd shown him that a waitress with 8 languages and a brilliant mind was worth more than a billionaire with none of his humanity intact. She'd proven that dignity mattered more than dollars. That character trumped cash. That intelligence outlasted arrogance. In the end, the people you underestimate might be the very people who define your legacy. Marcus had thought he was demonstrating his superiority. Instead, he'd exposed his inferiority. He'd thought he was safe behind his assumptions and foreign languages. Instead, he'd built his own prison from his own words. The story wasn't really about a rich man and a waitress. It was about assumptions and their consequences. About cruelty and its costs. About the danger of mistaking circumstances for worth. About the power of education, the value of human dignity. And the truth that you never really know who you're talking to. Until it's too late to take back your words. Marcus had learned that lesson permanently and painfully. His biggest mistake wasn't underestimating Elena's language skills. It was underestimating her humanity and, in doing so, revealing the emptiness of his own.